All right, let's dive into this one, shall we? Machado de Assis's Quincas Borba. I've got the notes and excerpts right here, and wow, this one is...
Yeah, it's a lot. It's one of those books that really gets under your skin, doesn't it?
It really does. Like, from the very first pages, you can just tell that you're in for a wild ride.
Oh, absolutely.
So we have this guy, Rubion, and on the surface, he's just like an average guy, a school teacher, just living his life.
Yeah.
But then, bam, he gets this massive inheritance from his friend. Well, former friend, I guess.
Right, Quincas Borba.
Quincas Borba. Now, the thing is, this inheritance comes with a catch.
A very big catch.
A very big catch.
Yeah.
Rubion has to take care of his friend's dog.
Also named Quincas Borba.
Also named Quincas Borba. And as we go through these excerpts, I mean, it becomes so clear that this dog is not just some pet. You know, this dog is...
A symbol.
A symbol. Yeah. Almost like a philosophical...
No, like a stand-in for the dead friend, almost.
Yeah. And maybe even a warning sign. Foreshadowing.
Oh, for sure. Foreshadow.
About what's in store for Rubion.
Exactly.
So before we even meet, like, Rubion the Inheritor, we're getting these glimpses of Quincas Borba, the guy, the philosopher, the one who comes up with all this. What was he like?
Oh, well, you know from these excerpts he's brilliant. Obviously, he had to be to come up with Humanitism. But there's this deep sadness about him, too.
Yes.
Troubled. You know, remember that part where Machado de Assis describes him in his final days? All those tears of madness or affection as he's getting ready to go to Rio.
Yeah, that was intense. And the way he makes Rubion swear that oath, too, to take care of the dog.
Oh, right, right.
Like he's handing over something way bigger than money, right?
It's his legacy.
His legacy, and maybe even like a piece of his own.
Yeah.
Like his sanity or something.
You know, you're making me think about Quincas Borba's philosophy, Humanitism, again, and how it's all about...
Dark one.
It's a dark one. It's all about human relationships being just the struggle to survive. Like, we're all just competing to be on top. Always.
So is that part of the inheritance too, then? Like, not just money and the dog, but this whole messed up philosophy that Rubion gets stuck with?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Definitely a possibility. And that's what's so gripping about this novel, I think. Because as soon as Rubion gets all that money, you see him wrestling with these desires, this paranoia.
Yeah.
And this, like, underlying philosophy that just keeps creeping into his thoughts and actions.
So we've got this, you know, kind of paranoid school teacher suddenly thrust into this world of, like, crazy wealth. He's trying to, you know, climb the social ladder. And he's got this dog. A dog, a living, breathing symbol of a philosophy about looking out for number one and survival of the fittest by his side. What can go wrong, Graham?
Well, you know, for starters, Rubion's anxiety goes through the roof. I mean, he's terrified of losing everything. He's convinced that someone's going to steal that dog.
Of course.
And it just takes over. It affects everything he does, even just like simple conversations, like the one with his comadre Angelica.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Remember that part? He's looking everywhere for the dog, and she just thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah, she totally doesn't get it.
No, she does not.
To Rubion, that dog's not just a pet. It's like...
A life.
It's his golden ticket to this whole new life, like something he never thought possible.
Exactly.
And as he gets deeper into that new life, right, moving to Rio, throwing these lavish parties, hanging out with all these high society types, we start to see him change. You know, there's that moment, that scene where he, like, snaps at Quincas Borba, the dog.
Oh, right, yeah. Out of frustration.
It's such a little moment, but it's so powerful. You could tell that Rubion's starting to detach from the things that used to, you know, ground him. His simple life, his connection to his old friend, maybe even his own sense of, you know, right and wrong.
It's like the allure of all that wealth and status is just pulling him in, and he's losing sight of what really matters.
Yeah. Yeah, and all this is happening under the watchful eye of a dog named after a philosopher who believed in the survival of the fittest. It really is. Yeah, it's like he's walking right into that humanitism arena. But instead of fighting to survive, he's trying to, like, claw his way to the top of society.
Exactly. And as he's climbing that ladder, he runs into Sophia.
Ah, Sophia.
She's, you know, she's a real force.
Yeah, from the excerpts you shared, she sounds like a fascinating but also kind of dangerous character.
Oh, yeah, she's both.
What's her deal?
Well, she's married to Cristiano Pala.
Right. One of Rubion's, quote-unquote, friends in this new world.
Right, exactly. But Sophia I think she's got her own ambitions. You know, she sees Rubio and how infatuated he is with her. And she sees it as a way to, climb that social ladder herself, maybe help her husband out a bit financially too.
Oh, so she's playing him.
Oh, she's playing the game for sure.
And it all kind of blows up when Rubio tries to
seduce her.
Yeah, which I'm guessing doesn't go.
Oh, not at all. It was a complete disaster. Sophia, she's smart. She turns the whole thing around, makes Rubion look like the bad guy, the one in the wrong. And then Paula finds out.
Oof. That confrontation must have been.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is how Paula handles it. He doesn't, fly off the handle. He doesn't accuse Rubion directly.
How does he?
He just very subtly reminds him of all those loans he's given him, those business opportunities.
So he's basically like holding Rubion's financial situation over his head.
Exactly. A total power move.
Wow.
Paula's reminding Rubion who's really in control.
Yeah.
And the effect on Rubio, it just destroys him. He's humiliated, rejected, and now he knows he's financially vulnerable too. It's like the perfect storm for everything to start falling apart.
Yeah, you see that parallel between him and Quincas Borba, the original one, really starting to emerge.
Mm-hmm.
Both brilliant, driven by ambition, but in the end...
undone by their own demons, right?
Right.
And it's not just the mental and emotional stuff either. It's the choices they make. Rubion, he's obsessed with status. He's spending recklessly. He's isolating himself more and more. It's like he's mirroring Quincas Borba's life.
There's even that moment when Rubion thinks he sees that, how did it go? A tom of censure in the dog's eyes.
Oh, yeah. Like even the dog is judging him, Like he sees what Rubion's becoming.
It's such a powerful image. The dog, this symbol of humanitism, silently judging the man who's supposed to be taking care of him.
Yeah, it's like Rubion's failing on every level. He's betraying his friend's trust, but he's also failing to live up to the principles of that messed up philosophy he inherited.
And then just when you think things can't get any worse, he gets pulled into politics thanks to another one of his friends, Camacho.
Ah, Camacho.
I'm sensing some more manipulation here. What's his deal?
Oh, Camacho, he's an opportunist. He sees Rubion, with his naivete, his desperate need to be accepted by everyone, and his money, of course, which is quickly disappearing. And Camacho knows he can use all of that.
So he pushes Rubion to run for office, knowing he can control him, use his wealth, and basically advance his own career in the process.
Exactly. And Rubion, he's so desperate for that validation, and he's getting more and more detached from reality, so he just falls for it completely.
So is this political ambition, is that like Rubion trying to, I don't know, grab some control over his life?
Yeah.
Or is he just being played by Camacho?
That's a good question. Remember, humanitism, it's all about self-interest being the driving force behind everything we do. So on the surface, sure, it looks like Rubion's trying to, win the game. But when you really look at it and you see how erratic he's become,
you
gotta wonder if he even knows what he's doing anymore.
And there's that moon imagery that keeps popping up.
Oh, yeah?
Like it's representing how fractured his mental state is, how detached from reality he's become.
Exactly. The moon becomes this symbol of his fantasies, his delusions. Like we're watching him get pulled further and further away from sanity.
So we have Rubion, now a political pawn, hanging on to what little is left of his fortune, and slipping deeper and deeper into madness. Is there any hope for him at this point? Or is he going to end up just like Quincas Borba? It's like a cautionary tale, almost, right? Like, what happens when you take that humanitism stuff too far?
It's tragic. Machado de Assis doesn't hold back. He shows you just how bad those choices can get. Rubion loses everything. His money, his status, those people he thought were his friends, even his sanity. It's all gone. And all he's left with are these delusions.
These excerpts are tough to read,
Yeah.
To see him like stripped of everything, forced to go back home in disgrace. It's such a huge fall from that guy who thought he could conquer Rio's high society.
It really is. And it just shows you how empty that world he wanted so badly was. In his final moments, he's just a shell of a person. He dies alone, with only the dog there.
That's heavy. It's ironic too, right? That he dies thinking he's the Empress, like this final delusion of grandeur.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how fake power and wealth are everything Rubion wanted, everything he thought would make him happy, it all just destroyed him.
And the dog, Quincas Borba, what happens to him?
Machado de Assis leaves that open to interpretation. He doesn't tell us what happens to the dog.
Oh, I like that. It's like a whole other mystery layered on top.
Exactly. Was Quincas Borba just a pet, loyal to a man who went crazy, or was he something more? Did he represent humanitism in his own way? Maybe he was just surviving by sticking with whoever had the power,
Yeah, like he was playing the game too.
Right. Or was he, like you said earlier, a judge, silently watching Rubiome fall apart? And in the end, maybe he's the one who really inherits Quincas Borba's legacy, the man's legacy.
Wow. So many questions. And I think that's what makes Machado de Assis so brilliant. He doesn't give you easy answers. He wants you to think about these big ideas, to really dig into the story and find your own meaning.
Absolutely. It's a story that stays with you. You keep thinking about ambition and how money and power can corrupt people and how fragile we all are.
Well, that was our deep dive into Quincas Borba. It's a book that makes you confront some tough truths about yourself and the world around you. And as we wrap this up, we'll leave you with this. If you were Rubiome, if you got that inheritance with the same condition, what would you do? Could you avoid the traps that ruined him? Or would you get seduced by humanitism, by the promise of power?
It's a question worth thinking about. Because, like Machado de Assis shows us, the line between wanting something and losing yourself completely, it can be pretty thin. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.